Today we're looking at the very basics of geometry. So the essential question is, what are the basics of geometry? Your learning intention. I'm learning the basic vocabulary of geometry. You've got two warm-up questions. Find the area of the following figures. Round to the nearest tenth. So as you're looking at this, you need to know how to find the area of a rectangle and how to find the area of a triangle. The area of a rectangle is just simply the base times the height. The area of a triangle is base times height divided by 2. Pause the video and see if you can find those two areas. Well, I do hope you tried to do it on your own and you're only checking your answers. So if I'm looking at the first rectangle is here. This is the part I'm looking at right now. And so if I'm looking at the base times the height, six times 12.16. 12 and 1600ths. And that's 72 and 9600ths. Okay, now what about the rectangle, or the triangle? We've done the rectangle. What about that triangular part? What does it look like? Okay, so we know it's base times height divided by 2 because a triangle is kind of half of a rectangle or a square. So let's look at, we've got our height, which is 9 and 1600ths. We're going to multiply that by the base, but it's not given to us. I know that the whole thing is 12. If this piece up here is 6, what does that leave for the remaining piece? That would also be 6. So it's 9.16 times 6, and then I've got to divide it by 2. 9 and 1600ths times 6. Then I divide it by 2. And I get 27 and 4800ths. And this would be feet squared. Now, I know both of the pieces. What do I do next? Add them together. And we're supposed to round to the nearest tenth. I've got 97.44, so that would be 97.4 feet squared. Okay, now make sure you use the calculators. We've got calculators around the room. I want you to use those to get used to them. Okay, now for the next one, we've got two rectangles. The first one, it's fairly easy to see the length and the width because they're given to us. So this would be 6 times What would 3/4 be as a decimal? 0.75. Okay, so 6 times 11.75, and I end up with 70.5. 70 and 5/10, and that would be inches squared. Okay, this is 9, so I know part of the other, but do I know all of it? I am missing the height. But what do I know? I know the whole height here is 11 3/4. This piece here is 5. To find their difference, 11 3/4 minus 5 is 6 3/4. 6.75 also. So 9 times 6.75 equals 60 and 75/100 inches squared. Am I done yet? No, I've got to add them together. So 70.5 plus 60.75 and I get 131.2. That would round up to 131.3 inches squared. Any questions? If you got the right answer, good for you. That means you're remembering key concepts. In geometry, we have what we call undefined terms. As we define them, we'll figure out why they're undefined. So what is a point? If you're saying a dot, that's how we identify it. But a point names a location and has no size. Okay, think about it. If it has no size, that means you can't see it. So we use a point or a dot to indicate where it is because it really doesn't have any size, and that's why it is it's an undefined term. If it has no size, it really doesn't exist. It's an abstract concept. Okay, think about a line. Why would a line be undefined? You could say it's made up of points, which kind of it is. But a line is a straight path that goes on forever. It has no thickness, and it goes on in both directions. So this is a straight path. That has no thickness. And extends in both directions. Forever. Okay, so Once again, you're looking at something that we cannot see. You're looking at something that has no ending. That's what makes it undefined. Okay, so now let's think of a plane. What do we know about a plane? Well, we know it is undefined, so why is it undefined? If you said because it has no thickness and extends in all directions, it's two-dimension, where your line is one dimension, your plane is two. So it's a flat surface that has no thickness. And extends in two directions forever. It's actually in two dimensions. In other words, you've got length and you've got width. Now, once again, there is no thickness, so it is quote-unquote invisible. It is an abstract thinking. So if we're looking, we have to know how to name different things. So if we're looking at this plane, we're going to identify the plane in two different ways. There are more than two different ways. The first way is if it is identified by a single letter. So if I'm looking at this, the first letter I see is that R. So this is plane R. If I don't use the single letter, then I have to use three non-collinear points. 3 points that are not on the same line. So I could do HKL. I could do HKJ. Can I do any other points? I could do LKH, which would be the first one. If I had another point down here, there would be several different ways to do that. So it's either with a single letter or with three non-collinear points. Okay, let's identify three different points. How many are there? Oh, there's plenty of them. I could have point M. I could have point K. I could have point J. If you notice, these are all using capital letters. Identify a line in two different ways. Once again, it can be with a single letter. So if I choose this line, it is line A. I identify it with a little line symbol above and then a lowercase a. But if I don't use the single letter, then I've got to use two. So I could use KL. I could use JL. Or I could use JK. All of those name the same line. What is array? I always think of array as half of a line. Your rays will have an endpoint and then they'll go through another letter. So if I do ray KL. It starts here and it goes here. If I do ray HK, then I start at H and I go through K. Now, HK and ray KH are not the same. KH starts in the middle and goes to the outside. This is your vertex. This is where you begin. This is where you go through. Okay, the midpoint formula and the distance formula. Here's your distance formula down here. They go off of points. So if I'm looking at the first one, we're going to find the midpoints of the following segments. So I have to find my two endpoints. So if I'm looking at the endpoints, my first endpoint is -5, 5. My second endpoint is 2, -5. To put it into my equation, it becomes -5 plus 2 divided by 2. 5 plus -5 divided by 2. Okay. -5 plus 2 is -3, -3 halves. 5 plus -5 is 0. 0 divided by 2 is 0. So if I'm looking at it when y is 0, this would be your midpoint. Okay, what about the distance formula? So my distance is the square root of x minus x, -5 minus 2, quantity squared, plus y minus y, 5 minus -5, quantity squared. I can do all of that in my calculator, and that's the quickest and easiest way to do it so you don't make mistakes. So get my square root symbol, hit second and x squared on these calculators. I need a parenthesis, -5 minus 2 parenthesis squared, plus parenthesis 5 minus -5 parenthesis squared. Hit my equal sign. It is 12.2. (20655). So this is approximately 12.2. We don't know what the units are, so we just put a U for units. Okay, see if you can do the midpoint on the next one. What are your endpoints? Start with your endpoints. So this will be -3, 1. And this will be 1, -4. Can you set up your midpoint? The midpoint's fairly easy. You're finding the average of two numbers. Let's put it all together now. -3 plus 1 divided by 2. 1 plus negative 4 divided by 2. Negative 3 plus 1 is negative 2. Negative 2 divided by positive 2 is negative 1. 1 plus negative 4 is negative 3. Divided by 2 is negative 3 halves. So, negative 1, when x is negative 1, this would be your midpoint. What about the distance? Can you set it up? Pause the video and see if you can do that. X minus x, square root of negative 3 minus 1, quantity squared, plus 1 minus negative 4, quantity squared, it's in parentheses. Okay, second, x squared, parenthesis, negative 3 minus 1, parenthesis squared, plus, parenthesis, 1 minus negative 4, parenthesis squared, 6.4031. Rounding to the nearest tenth, it would be about 6.46 and 4/10 units. Okay, if you feel comfortable, go ahead and do the last two now. Make sure you use a calculator because it makes your life so much easier. Okay, if you still are struggling, we'll do one more together, and then I do want you to try the last one on your own. Your midpoint, negative 4 plus 5 divided by 2. 4 plus negative 1 divided by 2. Negative 4 plus 5 is 1. 1 divided by 2 is 1/2. 4 plus negative 1 is 3. 3 divided by 2 is 3/2, and we're done. The distance is always a little bit harder. So this is the square root of, we're subtracting. This is actually based off of the Pythagorean theorem. So this is negative 4 minus 5, quantity squared, plus 4 minus negative 1, quantity squared. Remember your parentheses. Make sure you've done it right. Take that quick check. If you put a minus n instead of a negative sign, you'll get a syntax error. 10.2956. And you end up with approximately 10.3 units. Okay, now if you did not do it before, set the last one up and solve it. See, because you've got to do to actually learn. Pause the video and do the last one now. Okay, here we go. 4.9 plus negative 5.2 divided by 2. This one's going to go off the page. Negative 1.3 plus negative 0.6 divided by 2. Okay, parentheses, 4.9 plus negative 5.2, close it, and then divide by 2. I get negative 0.15. Okay, now parentheses, negative 1.3 plus negative, not minus, negative 0.6, close it, divide it by 2. If you don't close it and put it in parentheses, it will divide before it adds. And that means you will be doing it wrong. Order of operations forces that. And we are done. Okay, what about the distance? Well, the same thing's going to happen. It's just going to be a really long. So this will be 4.9 minus negative 5.2 quantity squared plus negative 1.3 minus negative 0.6 quantity squared. Okay, close it and square it, plus parenthesis, negative 1.3 minus negative 0.6, close it, square it, 10.1242. So this distance is approximately 10.1 units. So how do you know when you're successful? You know you're successful when you can use definitions to find the midpoint or distance of a line segment. So these are the undefined terms. Midpoint formula. And distance formula. As you're learning to use the calculator, make sure you double check that you have inputted the numbers correctly.